I used to think that betrayal was something that happened to other people, to the unlucky, the inattentive, the ones who took their partners for granted. I never imagined it would creep silently into my own life, slipping between the routines I trusted and the love I thought was unbreakable. But looking back now, I see the cracks were already there. I just refuse to look at them. My name is Daniel, and this is the story of how everything I believed about love, loyalty, and myself began to unravel. It started on an ordinary Wednesday evening, the kind of evening where the world feels half asleep and nothing seems important enough to remember. I came home late, carrying that familiar exhaustion from work, the kind that settles into your bones. I expected to hear Elena's voice from the kitchen, maybe the clinking of dishes, maybe that soft humming she always did when she thought no one was listening. But the apartment was quiet. I remember standing in the hallway, holding my keys, feeling something tighten in my chest. Not fear, not yet, just a strange awareness that something was off, like a picture frame slightly tilted on the wall. Her shoes were gone. The jacket she always tossed on the chair wasn't there. The living room lights were off. I called her. No answer. At first I told myself not to overthink. She could be with friends. She could be shopping. Her phone could be dead, or she simply didn't hear it. There were 1,000 harmless explanations, and I tried to force myself to believe any of them. But then I saw the message. It flashed across her laptop screen. She'd left it open on the table, something she rarely did. A tiny preview popped up in the corner. A name I didn't recognize. A short sentence, just a few words. But they froze me where I stood. Tonight was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The room felt smaller, like the walls were leaning in. I moved closer, staring at the message as if looking long enough would somehow change the meaning. My thoughts scattered like broken glass, sharp, chaotic, impossible to gather. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe it was old. Maybe it wasn't even about her. But I knew better. Somewhere deep inside, past all the denial and the desperate excuses, I felt the truth pushing its way up like a cold hand around my throat. I sat down slowly, feeling the weight of my body as if gravity had suddenly increased. My hands were shaking. My mind kept repeating the same question. Why? We weren't perfect, but who is? We argued sometimes. We got tired. We got distracted by life. But I loved her. I believed she loved me. I believed we were solid. Two people fighting for the same future. I must have stared at that message for 15 minutes. Long enough that my anger began forming beneath the shock, like heat rising under ice. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. I wanted to tear the apartment apart until I found every hidden truth she'd left behind, but I didn't move. All I could do was wait. Wait for her to come home. Wait to see her face. Wait to see if her eyes would tell me everything her words never would. It was almost midnight when I heard the door lock click. My heart started pounding, not with love, with a trembling, nauseating dread. She stepped inside quietly, almost too quietly, like she didn't want to be heard. "Dan, you're home already?" she asked, her voice soft, cautious. Already. The word hit me like a slap. She expected me to be gone. She wanted me to be gone. I didn't answer. I just looked at her. Her hair was messy in a way that didn't match the calmness of her voice. Her cheeks were a bit flushed, and she wore that faint trace of perfume she never used around me, too strong, too sweet. Not hers. She froze when she saw the laptop in front of me. For a second, that was all I needed. The look in her eyes, the subtle panic, the silent admission. "Dan, I can explain," she whispered. "Explain." As if there were some combination of words that could erase the message I read. As if there was a version of this reality where her betrayal didn't crush the air from my lungs. As if I didn't already know the truth. I stood up slowly, feeling strangely calm. The kind of calm that comes when the world stops making sense. "Who is he?" I asked. She looked away. And that hurt even more than the message. "Dan." It meant nothing. "You and I, We're just going through a rough time. I made a mistake, a mistake. The words sounded too clean, too small for something that had already torn a hole through my chest. How long? I asked. She didn't answer right away. She swallowed hard. And then, a few weeks. Weeks. Not a moment of weakness. Not an accident. Not a slip. Weeks. I felt something inside me break, quietly, almost elegantly, like cracking glass. I walked past her without a word and went to the balcony. I needed air, space, distance, anything that wasn't the suffocating weight of her presence. The city lights blurred beneath me, glowing like distant fires. And for the first time in my life, I felt completely, terrifyingly alone. Behind me, I heard her begin to cry. Maybe she felt guilty. Maybe she was afraid. Maybe she truly regretted it. But in that moment, her tears meant nothing to me because I realized something brutally simple. Love isn't destroyed by hate. It's destroyed by indifference, by lies, by the quiet choices made in the dark. And I wasn't sure there was anything left between us worth saving. That was the night everything changed. That was the night the first crack became a fracture. That was the beginning of the end. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake, staring at the cracks in the ceiling, replaying every detail from the evening, her eyes shifting away from mine. The faint smell of a cologne I didn't own lingering on her jacket. The way her phone kept vibrating face down on the couch. I told myself it was nothing. I told myself she was tired, stressed, distracted. People change. Relationships evolve. But deep down, cold, heavy suspicion settled in my chest like wet concrete. By morning, I felt hollow. I got up, showered, brushed my teeth, and still didn't feel human. The mirror didn't even look like me. Same face, same eyes, but everything behind them was bruised. When I walked into the kitchen, she was already there, making coffee like nothing had happened, humming to herself. That humming killed me more than any argument could. Happy people hum. Innocent people hum. I forced a smile. Morning, she smiled back instantly, too instantly. Morning. You're up early. Couldn't sleep, I said, taking the cup she handed me. Her fingers brushed mine, and something inside me flinched. I don't think she noticed, but I did. God, I did. For a moment, I considered asking her directly, just laying it all on the table. Who were you with yesterday? Why did you lie to me? Why does it feel like I'm losing you piece by piece? But I've never been good at confrontation. I always give people more trust than they deserve. Instead, I said nothing. She talked about her day. I barely heard a word. I nodded, pretended, played along. The whole time, my mind was running through possibilities, timelines, inconsistencies. When she finally left for work, I sat in silence, staring at the empty doorway like it might answer me. I opened her message thread, not from her phone, but from our laptop. We shared accounts, passwords, or at least we used to. I hesitated. I had never checked before. I had always believed I didn't need to. But betrayal changes you. It twists your ribs, reshapes your logic, turns you into someone you said you'd never become. My hands felt numb as I clicked. There were messages. Not many, but enough. A name I didn't recognize. Short, careful texts. Nothing explicit, yet everything obvious. And then I saw it. The one message that felt like a knife slid straight under my ribs. Last night was risky, but worth it. My vision blurred. I didn't move for a minute, maybe longer. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat there in a silence so heavy it felt like it was crushing my lungs. I don't know when exactly anger replaced the numbness, but it did. Hot, sharp, electric. I needed answers. I needed truth. And I realized something terrifying. I wasn't ready to let her go. But I also wasn't ready to keep living inside a lie. So I grabbed my jacket, locked the door behind me, and headed out, not to confront her yet, not to explode, but to investigate, to understand, to see if I was losing my mind or if everything I feared was real, because part of me still clung to hope, the other part wanted proof, and both parts were about to collide. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying every moment in my head, every smile she'd given me, every excuse she'd made, every strange silence I had ignored because I wanted to believe we were fine. By morning, the anger had burned down into something colder, heavier, almost metallic. I wasn't shaking anymore. I wasn't shouting in my mind. I just felt hollow. I went to work like nothing happened. I answered emails, held a meeting, joked with my coworker, as if the night before hadn't cracked something inside me. But underneath it all, the truth sat there like a stone embedded beneath my ribs. When I got home, the apartment felt different. Not because anything had changed, but because I had. The place felt smaller, narrower, as if the air itself was pressing against me. She was in the kitchen, pretending everything was normal, humming quietly while wiping the counter. When she noticed me, she smiled. That soft, familiar smile I had once thought was only mine. "Hey," she said gently. I didn't answer right away. I hung my jacket, placed my phone on the shelf, and then just stood there watching her. She must have felt it, the shift, because her smile faded. Her hand slowed. "You're quiet," she said. "Just thinking," I replied. She nodded, but unease flickered in her eyes. She knew I wasn't an easy man to deceive. She knew something was wrong. But she didn't ask. She didn't want to open the door because she knew what was waiting behind it. We ate dinner in silence. Or rather, I pushed food around my plate while she stole nervous glances at me. Afterward, I stepped onto the balcony, breathing in the cold night air, trying to decide how much truth I wanted to confront her with and how much of it would hurt me more than her. She joined me a minute later. "You're scaring me," she whispered. I looked at her, really looked. For the first time, I wasn't seeing the woman I loved. I was seeing someone who had already crossed a line she couldn't uncross. "Then tell me why," I said quietly. Her breath hitched. "Why what? Why you look at your phone every time it vibrates like it's a lifeline? Why you've been coming home late 3 times a week? Why you don't touch me the same way anymore?" Her eyes widened, fear blooming in them. "Please, don't know," I said, my voice steady. "I'm not asking to fight. I'm asking because I need the truth more than I need the lie." Her whole body trembled. She turned away from me, covering her mouth with her hand like she was holding back a scream. "I didn't mean for anything to happen," she whispered finally. "I swear to you I didn't plan it. It just happened, and I was stupid, and I was lonely, and I felt like you weren't seeing me anymore." "I wasn't seeing you," I cut in, disbelief tightening my throat. "I've been killing myself trying to build a future for us. Everything I did because I thought we were a team." Her tears spilled over, her voice shaking. I know. I didn't realize what I was doing until it was too late. It's over now." I ended it. The words hit me like blunt force. "It's over now. Not it never happened. Not you're imagining things. Not there's nothing to worry about. Just it's over now." Confirmation of everything I'd feared. I leaned against the balcony railing, letting the cold dig into my skin. My heart wasn't racing anymore. It wasn't even hurting. It was just tired. "How long?" I asked. Her voice broke. 2 months. I closed my eyes. 2 months. 8 weeks. 60 days. That's how long she had been lying to me, looking me in the eyes every morning and pretending everything was fine. "And why did you end it?" I asked. She hesitated. And that hesitation was its own answer. "Because of you," she said eventually. But it wasn't immediate. It wasn't confident. It wasn't whole. She ended it because she got scared. Because she didn't want to lose the stability I provided. Because the guilt became too loud. Not because her love for me suddenly pulled her back. And I felt it, right then, the final fracture. "I want you to understand something," I said slowly. "I'm not yelling. I'm not trying to punish you. But you broke something in me that I don't know how to fix." She sobbed, grabbing onto my arm, but I stepped back. I couldn't let her touch me, not now. Not while the truth was still fresh and burning. "Please," she whispered. "Don't give up on us. I'll do anything to fix this. I swear." I held her gaze. Her desperation was real. Her remorse was real, but so was the betrayal. "We're not done," I said, "but we're not okay." Her legs gave out for a moment, relief and fear hitting her at the same time. "We're going to take this one step at a time," I said. "But you need to understand I don't trust you right now. And trust is everything." She nodded rapidly, wiping her tears, promising things she wasn't sure she could deliver. And as she stood there trembling, I realized something. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal. It was deciding whether our story deserved to end because of it or whether I had the strength to see what came after. I didn't sleep that night. I don't even think I blinked. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, those trembling lips that looked like she wanted to say something but swallowed every word. And maybe that's what hurt the most, the silence. The way she looked at me like a stranger who suddenly knew too much. Morning came slow, gray, heavy. The kind of morning that feels like punishment. I dressed without thinking, grabbed my keys, and left the apartment because staying there felt like suffocating. The walls still smelled like her perfume. The bed was still messy on her side. Her mug was still on the table, half a ring of cold coffee inside it. Everything she touched felt like it was mocking me. I drove until the city blurred. I didn't care where I ended up, only that it was far. Eventually, I stopped at an overlook outside town. The whole skyline stretched in front of me, glowing faintly under thick clouds. And that's when the weight in my chest finally cracked open. I leaned on the railing, breathing hard, like everything inside me wanted to escape. How could she do that? How could she smile at me, kiss me, whisper that she loved me, and then go to him? I didn't even know his name. Just a shape, a shadow, a voice I wasn't supposed to hear but did. Her betrayal lived in every detail, replaying in my mind. Her excuses, her shaking hands, the way she tried to wipe her tears before I could see them, as if hiding them made anything better. My phone buzzed for the fourth time that morning. Her name on the screen. I didn't answer. I couldn't, because I knew that if I heard her voice, my resolve would weaken. And I hated that part of me, the part that still wanted to believe there was something worth saving. Hours passed before I finally drove back, slowly, carefully, like I was heading into a battlefield. When I reached the apartment, I noticed the hallway light under the door. She was inside. My heart punched against my ribs. I unlocked the door. She stood in the middle of the living room with a bag on the floor beside her. Her eyes were swollen, her hair messy like she'd been pulling at it. And when she looked at me, really looked, I saw something I didn't expect. Fear. Not of me, of losing me. "Please," she whispered. "Just listen this time." I didn't move, didn't blink, didn't speak, because I wasn't sure yet whether I came back to hear the truth or to end everything. She took a shaky breath and stepped closer. And what she told me next changed the entire story. I thought I was ready for the final conversation. I'd rehearsed it so many times in my head, every sentence, every breath, every possible reaction she might give me. But when I finally stood in front of her door, I realized nothing could prepare me for the real thing. When she opened it, she froze, like the air between us had suddenly become solid. Her eyes widened just slightly, the way they always did when she was nervous. And for a moment, just one cruel moment, I remembered how that used to make me smile. "Not anymore. I figured you'd come eventually," she said, stepping aside. I walked in. Her apartment still felt like us, and I hated that. My jacket on the chair, her favorite candle still half burned on the counter, the couch where we used to fall asleep tangled together. Everything looked and touched like she'd tried to preserve a version of us that no longer existed. I didn't sit. I didn't need comfort. Not here. "So," she began, arms folding defensively, "I guess you want answers." "No," I said. "I already know the answers. I want honesty." Her lips tightened. She looked away, then back at me. "I didn't mean for it to happen." I almost laughed. "Nobody ever means for betrayal to happen. It just does because someone chooses it." "When?" I asked. She hesitated. That tiny pause was enough to tell me everything. It started before we broke up, she finally admitted, voice trembling. But I swear it wasn't serious then. It was just, don't, I cut in. Don't dress it up. Don't soften it for me. Just say it. She swallowed hard. I cheated on you. There it was. Clear, sharp, final. And somehow, hearing it aloud hurt less than the weeks of silence, half answers, and excuses. You could have told me, I said quietly. You could have ended things before you destroyed everything. I know, tears gathered in her eyes. But I loved you, and I didn't want to lose you. The irony almost crushed me. You lost me the moment you lied, I said. Not the moment you touched him. The moment you looked me in the eyes and pretended everything was fine. She broke then, shoulders shaking, breath stuttering. I'd seen her cry before over movies, memories, little life losses, but never like this. Never with guilt woven into every tear. And what surprised me most was the absence of hate in my chest. I wanted to hate her. I wanted anger to swallow everything. But all I felt was release. I'm not here for revenge, I told her. I'm not here to make you feel worse. I just need to close this. For myself. She reached for me then, instinctively, like she used to. I stepped back. No, I said gently. Those days are gone. She nodded slowly, wiping her face. Will you ever forgive me? I will, I answered, and I meant it. But forgiving you doesn't mean I'm staying. Silence fell between us again, heavy. I turned toward the door. Take care of yourself, she whispered. You too. Then I walked out of her apartment, out of the memories, out of the version of myself that had waited too long for truths that never came. The hallway felt colder, but also clearer. I breathed out and felt lighter than I had in months. People always say endings hurt, but sometimes the real pain comes from holding onto something already dead. And as I walked away, I realized something incredibly simple. This was not the end of me. This was just the end of us. And I was finally free.